Well, good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. It's good to be with you. Another edition of Elevating You. For those of you joining us here on the Kann Advisory Group Facebook page, welcome. If this is your first time ever, shame on you. Where you been? I mean, there hasn't been anything going on in this country of late that would keep you away from joining us. We welcome you. The topic today is going to be a lot of fun. I'm Kraig Kann. I've got Mike Mooney, as always, thus the picture you see right there. And we shot that in the Alps. I don't know whether it was like 6 months ago. It's a heck of a promo shoot, by the way. We enjoyed that, didn't you, Mike?
I did as well. But what people don't understand is that from the waist down, we're wearing shorts and have ski boots. And so it was quite a photo shoot. You should see the rest of it. I'm glad you cropped it where you did.
Exactly. And, you know, every now and again, Jill Bauer, who's right in the middle, sandwiched between us, she jumps on when she doesn't have 50 other things going on that are far more important than spending time with Mike and I. Jill, good morning.
Not true. You guys are always important to me.
Man,
you know that. I love being here, and I'm sorry I can't be here weekly, but thanks for having me this morning.
I'm bringing heat today. I mean, I've only been up since, to about 3 o'clock in the morning for the last 2 nights trying to figure out if we actually had any results. And for some reason, I found like 250,000 ballots that were sitting over here in the corner of my office, and I need to start counting those. This is the first time, by the way, in how many years that Florida didn't mess it up for everybody.
That's a good point.
I feel really good in this state right now that we've come across unscathed. Nobody's ripping Florida for once.
Hey, Kraig, did you ever, I know you went down the sports path, but did you ever in your broadcast career have to cover the elections?
Yes. And I'm going to say something, and this is going to come across perhaps a little bit biased and maybe overconfident for the people that I'm going to promote here. I believe that whether it's local news or national news, you know who should also play a bigger role in election coverage are sportscasters and weather meteorologists. And the reason why is that they spend their TV time ad-libbing constantly. There is no script they're reading off of a prompter. And so, not to take anything away from local news anchors, I mean, they're the rock, right? They're the foundation of every network. And there are so many awesome ones. I like flicking around all the different channels. Like I've watched MSNBC, CNN, Fox. I like to see everybody's perspective. I don't know about you all, but ABC Nightly News. And I find it fascinating how they change the spin at different networks. And also what was interesting this year, Jill, was how the results, like they're giving away states at different times. So you could go to one network and all of a sudden the electoral numbers are way different than on another. Everybody's nervous this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I in my beginning of my career, I covered a lot of local races and things. And, I can remember just what it was like waiting for those votes to come in. And like you, I do look at all the different networks. I like to get the different perspectives because, Kraig, I don't know how you feel, and not trying to exclude you from this conversation, Mike. But
keep it up. It's some of his best material right now.
But I, what really fascinates me, and I guess it's something I've tried to understand, is when you and I were in journalism school, like the mantra was, you always stay objective. You never tip your hand. No one should ever know what party you're affiliated with or what your view might be. Your job is to tell both sides. And it's fascinating to me how journalism has taken such a separatist turn so that it's one or the other. And it's hard, I think, for the American public to really know, like to your point, every station was reporting different numbers and different results. So what was it really? Right? Like, I just think I would love somebody to school me on, when did journalism become one side or the other? And when did we get away from being the watchdog for the people?
Oh, I
go ahead.
I think that's a great topic for another day, maybe.
Yeah, I have an answer to that too. And I heard it from a keynote speaker. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, there was a time when journalists had to adhere to 3 standards, right? Fair, balanced, and sourced in terms of what news they were putting out, right? My opinion is that this all changed when we started getting 24-hour news networks, and they had to fill space and airtime, and you need money to fill the airtime, and you start looking at the advertising dollars, where it used to be the separation of the proverbial church and state of advertising and editorial. Mm-hmm. Then when the .com phase came in and people were dying for clicks, and I can go on and on, but my opinion is it was really when you started getting 24-hour news networks where people had to become more on-air personalities and talking about opinions versus actually objectively reporting news. That's where I think it left.
Well, I saw Jack Ford, who was a former network reporter, anchor, right? Journalist.
Yeah.
I saw him do a keynote. This was like 3 years ago at COSIDA. Interestingly enough, it was a sports gathering for sports information directors and a lot of people. And he talked about everything changing at the OJ trial, which he covered. He was one of the big reporters of that.
Yeah.
And what he said was that was when talking head television took over and Fair and Balanced became out the door. Obviously, you're trying not to prove somebody guilty before you have the facts and all that. But he said, you've got all these people on a panel all of a sudden spewing opinion. And to your point, Mike, once the networks all decided to go opinion-based and a lot of talking heads, and we have a right, we have a left, we have very few middle. It's tough to find that. That's why I flip around, because I'm fascinated by different people's opinions on it. I wanted to see if CNN would actually be talking about Trump like a legitimate candidate, or whether Fox would actually steer away and give Biden credit for where he was. So anyway, I think it's been very interesting, and it's going to kind of tie into a little bit of what we're going to talk about today, which we'll get to in a minute. So for those of you just joining us, Mike has now jumped on board with me at Kann Advisory Group, as has Jill. We all do the same thing. If you're just tuning into us, we speak around the country when there are actually gatherings happening. We are consultants for others, entrepreneurs. We run our own businesses, book authors, broadcasters, coaches, all those things. And we just we feel like-minded, but differing in opinion on some things, and making for what we believe is some pretty good conversation. This is not us preaching to you all. This is us opening up dialogue and bringing topics to you that we can discuss, that we feel like we all kind of have to deal with. And last time, our topic was this. Jill was not with us last week. She was off and busy working with the Today Show. This was the topic: get out of your way, stepping aside to step up in your career. And I found it to be a really interesting conversation, Mike. Even with the fact that it was you and me doing it, and I hope
that it was just us talking about. No, but actually, Kraig, it was a very rich conversation, but also helped in that is that we had some really good questions, feedback, and thoughts from folks who were listening in that were posting their thoughts on the Facebook feed. So we encourage you to keep doing that, because it really helps the conversation and helps us think about some things differently as well. As Kraig said, we're not here with all of the answers. We wanted to create an intentional space where we could come together and share some thoughts, expand where we're thinking, what we're thinking, and more importantly, then what we can put into play.
There you go. We need some sort of dramatic music so we could, the top question from last week, because we take a question each and every week, or sometimes a couple if we get them. But this one's going to be for you, Mike, because you chose the topic last time, so I might as well throw it your way. And then if Jill wants to have a comment on it that she might have thought she could throw out last week if she had joined us, that's totally fine. Frank in Delaware. So I'm giving Biden a little bit of love here. Mike, you talked about stepping aside. To be honest, if I want to get to the next level in my career, stepping aside seems like a concept for, air quotes here, the unmotivated person. Tell me why I'm wrong. I think that's a really good question and a challenge to the topic. One more time, Mike, you talked about stepping aside. To be honest, if I want to get to the next level in my career, stepping aside seems like a concept for the unmotivated. Tell me why I'm wrong.
Well, I like the end part there in a way. Like, tell me why I'm wrong. All right. Well, look, Frank, I don't want to argue a point. However, I would like to maybe shed some light, and for the viewers today that weren't with us last week, we were talking about getting out of your own way, meaning that the things that we often that we find that we can't get to, like if we find that we can't reach that next level, we can't get to the next best version of ourselves, whether that's in our career or just our personal lives or in general, it's usually because we can't get out of our own heads. There are things that we have in our own our head trash, in that mind space, that self-talk or the habits, the people we surround ourselves by, that we need to be thinking of. Do we need to kind of step aside from that? How do we get out of our own way in order to move forward? And that could be fear-based. It could be a number of things. So that was the context. It wasn't in the sense of step aside maybe for somebody else to move ahead. It's really step aside so that you can then step up. How can you identify those aspects or habits or rituals or Klingons, in your life that are holding you back? That's truly what we're trying to do. So I wouldn't say that thought or feedback is for the unmotivated. Look, if you're interested in getting better, if you're interested in elevating yourself, then that's motivation. That's all the motivation you need. In this sense here, it's like, how do you step aside from your own crap, right, in order to move yourself forward? Get your hands on the wheel and be the driver in your life.
By the way, Jill, do you have something you want to add? Because Mike he does such a tremendous job. And I mean that he always brings it back to the steering wheel and staying in your lane and a yellow flag or a green flag or a checkered flag. It's very good marketing. Okay, go ahead, Jill.
Well, all I was going to say is, I think that if somebody is really motivated and working hard to move themselves ahead, sometimes they're doing everything, right? They're almost like a bull in a china shop. So what I took away from the idea of, getting out of your own way is sometimes you just have to take a pause and really look at all of the things that you're doing and realizing, what, maybe 3 of them are not getting me where I need to be, or I'm doing double work because I'm doing A and B and I really should just be doing A. So I think sometimes because we're so motivated and because we're hustling so hard and because we're doing so many different things, I think I know a little bit about this. Sometimes you do have to get out of, you have to get out of your own way, meaning you have to take a step back so you can look at all that's on your plate right now and really get to what's the main course, right? The appetizer and the dessert are great, but what's the meat of all of it? Because that's really, I think, eventually what's going to propel you to where you want to be.
I'm going to add one thing to that, and it's on topic and a little off topic. But we've talked a lot about time management and not, to your point, Jill, adding so much on our plate that our head spins to the point where we don't know where to start. We don't know how we're going to finish. And we say we don't have enough hours in the day. This is what I've found, and this is what I've tried to do here over the last couple of months. All right. I have, not to throw my whole schedule out there, but this month alone, I've got three upcoming virtual keynotes and 2 workshops, and one in December already, and then one that's going to be in December and January. In and of itself, preparing for those can be overwhelming, as you know, Mike and Jill. I know when you have projects that you're trying to do, it's like, how am I going to get all these done? Rather than let them creep up on me, I try to get way ahead. In other words, I will devote 2 days to preparing for all the talks that I'll be giving at the end of the month or into the next month. I might make tweaks later, but at least I'm done in it and I don't stress. Mm-hmm. The stress is completely gone. Then it becomes, how am I going to execute those? How am I going to, make them successful? And then I can relax and spend time doing other things and maybe enjoy my life a little bit better. So I think that's important, so as far as getting out of your way and focusing on the right things and doing all that, I think it's important to time manage yourself very well, maybe more importantly than ever. And so I think that's something that's important to me.
Well, Kraig, to build on that, see that what that allows you to do is it take, like you said, first off, the emotional pressure is now you've just popped that balloon, right? So you can have that nice, healthy exhale. Mm-hmm. But what it also offers you the opportunity is now to go back, like you said, and refine it, sand it a little bit. Where do I want to make it a little better? Because if you're building a house and you're just slamming nails, right? Just trying to get the rooms done. You're not worried about the details. You're not worried about the finishes. You're just worried about getting it done. And as we know in our business, especially as you're building your brand and you're putting your work out there, really the excellence is in the detail. It's in the finishes. It's in those little things that you've put just a little bit of extra time into that makes all the difference for the people who are in the audience or the people who have hired you. And I'd say that goes for everybody and all the things you're doing, even if it's in your
no matter what your industry. Yeah,
correct.
Absolutely.
Right.
So that was last week. Moving on to today.
Okay.
And here's our topic, 2021. It's here before you know it. Like the other day, I was in a shoe store, not buying shoes for me, by the way. And all of a sudden I'm listening and it's Christmas music. I'm like,
yeah.
I said to I'm like, we're not even in Halloween yet. Okay. We haven't had a trick or treater come by yet. And you are throwing Christmas music at us. So what it tells me is people have absolutely moved on. Like we are ready to get past this. The holidays are here. 2021 is going to be here before you know it. So what we want to talk about today is how you will elect. Notice how I use the word elect to finish your year and make the most of it. Okay. So I think what we all realize is momentum has been really put on a screeching halt for a lot of people, whatever your business is. Like I was really busy last year, not as busy this year. Companies that I know, I was on the phone last night with a CEO who contacted me at about 8:00 or 9. We were just talking, and he was talking about they're not going to be able to travel till next June, and momentum has been, halted and all of that stuff. So you have to find a way to self-motivate yourself and figure out what you're going to do the rest of the way. So I, for one, believe we cannot allow ourselves to fall prey to, you know what, I'm done. This year's done. It's been done for 6 months, and I'm going to coast through. Having said that, I'll add something with my thoughts in a little bit that I think tie into that and maybe suggest a little bit of something different. So 2021 momentum starts now. How you're going to elect to finish your year. So what I wanted to do was give each of you, and then I'll throw my 2 cents out there, the first impression of that topic. 2021 momentum starts now. Jill, your thoughts on that?
Well, I think we do have to start thinking about 2021 now. I was talking with somebody yesterday and she said, do you realize that we've been home for 250 days?
Wow.
What?
Wow.
Right? Like when you say that, it's like, oh my gosh. And, I think that, we've all tried to do the best we can and work within the constraints of not going into the office, not traveling, not being able to, go on our sales calls, finding new ways to do that. But now is the time when it looks like 2021 may start and continue the way 2020 is. Now I think is really the time where you have to start saying, all right, this is what I need to do in terms of being better in delivering my virtual messages. This is what I need to do. You have to start putting those goals in place. And it's not like the New Year's resolution type goals. It's the things that really are going to make a difference for you in the new year with how you are conducting your business, how you're motivating yourself, habits that you need to instill. You can't wait until January 1st, right?
No.
You really have to start now. We three are always talking about momentum. Mike, you talk about this a lot too, I know. Momentum, in order to gain it, you have to start, right? So if you want the momentum for 2021, we need to start now.
Yeah. Okay. Jill, good thoughts on that. Yeah. Appreciate that very much. And in a little bit, Jill's going to give her 2 big things. All right. Mike will do the same. I'll do the same. 2 big things that can actually help you from a mindset perspective of where to go. So that's that. All right, Mike, it is your turn. Your first impressions on the topic. Again, that topic, 2021 momentum starts now. How you're going to elect to finish out the year.
Yeah, I love where Jill was in terms of looking at that. That's a crazy stat when you start putting numbers to things, right? 250 days. And I think for a lot of people, we spent a lot of that time in a wait and see kind of mindset. Let's just kind of wait and see how this plays out. Okay, well, next week, let's see how that plays out and how that's going to impact my business or impact my life or impact my team or whatever it might be. So what I love about this idea of the topic today for 2021 is that when I see that, it is it's an empowering statement. It's an empowering state of mind that shifts us from that wait and see, because as we can see, as we've waited, that things aren't really going to change all that much moving forward. So if the environment is not going to change all that much, I think this topic and idea and mindset drives us back to saying, so then how can we from the inside then change and evolve, right, to meet these shifts where they are so we can keep moving forward. And as Jill, you said, momentum starts, right, as soon as you move. Just take half a step. It doesn't have to be the whole step. Take half a step. So that's what I love about the conversation, what I'm looking forward to today. It's about how do we focus on where we're going, not so much as where we've been, right? There's a reason why the windshield is larger than the rear view mirror, right?
I love that. That's a good one. Oh, I love that. Good.
It always brings it back to the car. I mean, it happens every time. It's amazing. All right.
That's all I can do. I have coffee and a couple good lines here and there. That's it. That's why Kraig keeps me around.
Two things. He'll have his two things coming up. All right. Let me share a couple of things on the thought as well. 2021. Okay, we've moved past 2020, but here's the thing: for the rest of the year, I want you to think about restaurants, and I want you to think about bars. That's fine. You can think about bars too. When they pour your drink from here forward, make sure that they fill it to the top. And I know that sounds really corny, but I want you to tell them to fill it to the top. And for the reason is, we have to stop. And I know that everybody has lived this year. I have as well. We have been a glass half full society for 7 months. And we have to get past that. Like, everybody is thinking about the things that are the worst as opposed to how I can provide value to make it better. So glass half full doesn't work. I've never been a glass half full guy. Do I have bad days? Yeah. Do I get down? Certainly. Absolutely. Have I been depressed during this time or frustrated that I'm not hopping on an airplane? Yes, I have. I want to be out doing my thing. But at the same time, we have to adopt a mindset that there's some positivity here. This thing will turn around, in my opinion, if people will allow themselves to have the attitude of, we're going to turn this around, or we're not going to succumb to the negativity that surrounds it. In other words, I could find, if you give me an hour, Jill, on TV with a remote, and I'm really good with a remote. I'm actually really good if I have two remotes, if it's a college football Saturday and I have multiple TVs going, because I'm one of those guys that likes to say, I watched 7 games today. How? Well, I just flick around and I like to see what this stadium looks like in that stadium. All right. You've got to be able to focus your mind on, I can find the negative if I want it. I can go find the news station that's going to give me all the doom and gloom about COVID or about where the economy is going to go. Or I can say, you know what? I've got my office here and I've got windows and there's walls. This is the space that I control in here. That space out there I can't control, but I can control this. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus my energy, whether it's on my computer, on my day timer. I have a book that's got a hot list of people that I've talked to that, you know, maybe I might be doing something for, or maybe there's some interest there or whatever. I change the mindset. And I think that's what people need to do. So my big thing, my first thought for people is mindset over matter. And that's what matters most to people, in my opinion, for the rest of the year. That's my overall thought. Anybody want to chime in on that?
Okay, Jill, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, that would kind of lead into what one of my takeaways is, but I don't know that I want to give it away yet.
You're not allowed to. You're not allowed to.
But I'm on board with that idea 100%. You know, we really have to embrace where we're living right now.
Yeah.
Well, and also, and I've told my kids this for years. You're going to always find what you look for. So just be mindful of what it is you're looking for. You know, if you're looking for crap, you're going to find crap. If you're looking for sun, you're going to find the sun.
Yeah.
So where are you fixing your eyes?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, there's this saying, when is the best time to plant a tree?
When is that, Kraig?
Well, the best time to plant a tree was 50 years ago, but the next best time to plant a tree is right now. So plant one right now. Okay. I heard that from, I don't know if it was like Socrates or
very wise person.
Yeah. I can't remember where I got that from, but nonetheless. All right. So with that, we're going to move right into, we are wasting no time today. We're going to go into, everybody gets two things. These are Mike's big two to finish 2020 strong. That's going to help you benefit in 2021. I've asked Jill to do the same. I got to give everybody a little secret here. All right, so here's how this works. And I got hammered in a playful way by Jill and Mike yesterday because I said, here's what I want from each of you. I want your two big things, but I want you to send them to me privately. You know why? Because I don't want them to see what the other person put. And then Mike, the wise guy, says to me, I think it was Mike, well, what are you going to do? Steal ours? And I'm like, yeah, right. Exactly. That's what I'm going to do.
He's going to take the best two and say, oh, sorry, guys, I already had these on my list. Come back with some others.
Yeah,
I know you can. I know you.
Yeah, that did not happen. Okay, here are Mike's big two. Go ahead, Mike. Yeah. I'm going to let you talk about it. And awesome. The clock ticks for the end of 2020.
Yep.
It's time for what?
Yeah. So here's something that I've actually been building into one of my talks lately, because it really dawned on me that we're in this place of adaptation and adoption. And I'll bring it back to the racing side of things. Is that in every race, every team has a strategy that they're going in with of how they want to approach the race with their pit stops, or how they're going to break up the race into different segments based on the car's performance, the handling, things of that nature. But ultimately what happens is during the race, because of external forces, whether on the racetrack or things happening on pit road, that they've got to adapt to the circumstances that are happening around them in a way that they can still optimize their car to stay in the race, to keep their performance at the level that they're looking for. Yeah. So there's this point where they've got to adapt in the moment. But here's the magic, is that every morning, every team has a competition meeting where the crew chiefs, the head engineers, the drivers, all the key members of the competition team come together and they dissect the race. They go through every aspect, from starting with the race strategy, what changed, what happened, how did we flex or pivot, what did we have to do? And then they figure out the places where they had to adapt in the race. And they go, well, is that an adaptation for the moment? Or is that something that we have to adopt into our ongoing strategy or preparation for the upcoming races? You see, there's an interesting nuance in that, of saying, what did I have to do in the moment? And if it worked, do I take the time to think about how I then move it forward into my ongoing strategy and work? And that's what I would encourage people to do now, is think about, in the positive ways you're thinking about going to 2021, is think about the places where you've had to adapt over this year that's actually served you personally, served you professionally. And then think about, where are those places then that you can adopt it into your ongoing mindset, your ongoing workflow, or your ongoing leadership, whatever that might be. So that's the idea and the concept around adaptation and adoption, is recognizing what you've had to do to adapt in the moment to still succeed and stay in the race, and then figure out, is it something that I want to continue in my daily life routine that's going to keep building that momentum and driving me forward.
Love it. Absolutely love it. By the way, Jill, do you realize one thing, the difference between you and me and Mike? You're going to see, folks, when Jill's comes up and when mine comes up, they're much more simple, right? There's no big words. We go with the TV journalist, you just, speak and talk and all that. And we throw out things.
Not very deep.
Thinking, yeah, we're not that person. Mike drops this thing and then he forces me to say, did you mean adaptation? And he's like, no. And I go, okay, well then I'll listen to it when you actually deliver it. So anyway, okay, go into the next one, Mike.
Yes. So the other key part of this to keep in mind is the compounding power of time, right? And if you think about it from the standpoint of like our health or working out or a diet, We'll start working out or we'll start eating better, but we're often in that instant gratification mindset of I want to see the results now. But the reality is that it often takes about 6 months of consistent showing up, making good choices, going to the gym, doing whatever it might be. 6 months for the benefits to actually start to show the results, right? And to actually see the impact of that. Now, if you take the
habits.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And more importantly, then the change. So here's I'm so glad you said that, Kraig, because there's the change of the habits in your head, but then there's the actual change in the environment or the physical self that takes time to show up. And usually that's about 6 months, which is crazy when you think about it. The flip on that, though, is that if you hop off that wagon and you get off the diet or you stop making the choices, you stop going to the gym, we stop meditating, you start whatever those things are, how quickly does it take then for you to start going, oh, this isn't, what's happened to me? It's usually like 3 months. It's like half the time it takes for you to get to where you want to go. It takes for the negative part of it to come back. So all to say is that if things are going well right now for you in certain areas of your life, think about 6 months ago, the things that you started to do, the habits, the mindset, the rituals you were doing, and keep after it. Okay. If you're not in a great spot, think about what you stopped doing 3 months ago. Now, the beauty of this is that we've got time. We've got 3 months at least to the beginning of the year, and then a few more after that to keep this compounding momentum going. So that's what I mean is think about time in that sense of how long it takes to actually build that momentum to start seeing the results. So don't give up. Just keep in it every single day.
Yeah, very good.
Great.
Very good. So there you go. Adaptation and adoption and the power of compounding time.
Was that a little better, the smaller words? And
no,
I want to keep up.
I like it. I got no issues whatsoever.
I mean, look, you two are the pros here. I'm merely comic relief, I think, at some
No.
Not at all.
A lot of great stuff right there. I want to let everybody know, quick time out for a commercial break of what we offer. Jill, Mike, myself, we do webinars for companies. We do webinars for organizations. We do webinars for groups, and we will be there in real time at some time to stand in front of you and deliver what I believe is a transformational experience for all of your employees. Certain number allowed in the room. We have a lot to offer. Varying backgrounds and opportunities for your team to have actionable takeaways that they can put into motion real quick. The webinar series is called Present to Win, and you can get more information at info@kannadvisory.com. Kraig, Jill, Mike, we'll be there. We can't wait. Hope you'll give us a buzz and we can check and talk about your custom experience for your team. Okay, with that, on to Jill Bauer for her big two and how she wants to finish 2020 strong and how you can do the same. So the big question mark for her, what are the two, Jill, that you would like to focus on?
Well, it goes without saying, we have to embrace this new normal. It's not going to change at the beginning of 2021. We all know that. In fact, for all we know, we could be shut down even further than we are now heading into the winter. And so I'm not saying that to be doom and gloom. What I'm saying is, if that's something we can't control, then let's take a look at what you can control. And you can control how you are going to react to that. You can control how you are going to motivate yourself into creating a workspace that works for you and your family. You can control your dedication and your time. Listen, I don't envy parents out there with young kids who are also having to work at home and school their kids from home. That has to be like number one hardest job in America right now, as if being a parent isn't hard enough, but trying to work from home and manage your kids with education, like it's hard, right? We can't control the fact that that's how it is, but what can we control? We can control the way we set it up. Maybe we need to control how we're doing our work day. Maybe during the day, it's about the kids and we're doing our work at night instead. Like those shifts are sort of how I know I've had to make some of those changes for myself. And you know, my son is older. but that doesn't mean that I still don't have to shift things so that I can be available to him. I can support him or in the times that he needs it. And maybe it's me sitting on the couch from 7 until 9 p.m. doing some work instead of right smack in the middle of the day when he needs something. So we have to embrace it, everybody. We can't sit around and say, I can't wait till 2021 when everything's going to be different. It's not going to be different for a while. So as soon as you can come to that place, I think that from there you say, all right, if this is what it's all about for me now, how am I going to make it better? For me, it's burning a candle when I'm working on my computer. Like that makes me feel normal. It's little things like, I mean, that seems so dumb, but somehow that makes it a little bit nicer for me when I'm sitting at the kitchen table or I'm doing a recording in my kitchen as opposed to being in Studio 1A in New York on the Today Show. Like those little things mean a lot right now. So embracing that I think is important. Sorry, I kind of just kept going, but I just think it's huge.
Best career you could probably get into right now is being a counselor for all those parents that are at home trying to work and take care of their kids. I mean, seriously,
it's so hard.
I don't know how everybody's doing it. Mike, you wanted to add something before Jill goes into her second one?
Yeah. So what I love about what you said, Jill, besides, and if you ever need someone to help carry your bags into Studio 1A, please let me know. I'd be happy to hold the door for you.
If we get back there, I'll call you, Mike.
Please do. I'd love it. Now, what I love about what you said about the candle, right? And it's not a dumb thing. And I know it's easy to kind of dismiss it. I know.
How's he going to tie this into auto racing? Here we go.
What about this burnout? We're going to burn. No, I'm kidding. No, the idea though is that what you've done is that you've changed your environment. Even though you're in a similar place, you've changed it because now you're smelling. Maybe it's a scent that reminds you of the beach or the woods or the holidays, whatever it is. But there's power in our senses and how that changes the environments in which we're living and operating. So I love that, and I think it's such a great strategy is to say, here I am, but what can I do to make my environment, along with my schedule, something that I can manage and is enjoyable and refreshing. So I love it.
Well, I think that I do think that, when you look at retail sales and places like Home Depot and, furniture stores and all of this are seeing these huge booms, a lot of it is because I think people are at home and taking stock of being at home and realizing this isn't just a place where I sleep before I go to work. This is my haven. This is where, this is my nest. So how do I make this, how do I maximize this so that it's working for both sides of who I am, right? The at-home person as well as the employee or employer or business owner, whatever.
All right. Let's move on from this for the sake of time on to your second one, which is about an outlet. And I'm glad that you didn't add mall after that.
Well, I do have a background in shopping, as we all know. PhD, probably.
A little bit.
Listen, this is no surprise probably to either one of you. I preach this all of the time. It is so important to find something for you. Outside of your business, outside of the things that you're called upon to do as a parent, as an employer, as an employee, as a small business owner, whatever it might be, you have to have your own thing. It can be as little as, gosh, I'm feeling so stressed and overwhelmed. I'm going to take 10 minutes and look at the Calm app on my phone. At least that's something that's giving you a break from all of us existing, frankly, on our computers. Like, I think finding those ways to give yourself a break from that. Some of you will say, Jill, I'm just too busy. I don't have time. You have time. You have 5 minutes somewhere in your morning. You have 5 minutes somewhere in the afternoon where you can take a deep breath. Just walk outside. If you are wanting to start something new, like a painting, or actually read a book as opposed to scanning through things on your computer. Like, that's what I mean by outlet. It's finding something tangible to give your mind and your emotion and your psyche and your physical being a little bit of a break, because we all need it. Whether you think you've handled this whole pandemic great or you've really struggled, you probably appreciate this even more. But I think having something that gives you, each one of you, a few moments for just you is critically important, and it keeps you well and motivated as you head into the new year. It's one of my biggest things. It's one of the biggest things I believe more than anything else. And let me tell all of you, I existed in a state of exhaustion in my years at QVC. I never realized how tired I was until I stepped away. And I have such a new appreciation for just those moments for myself to take a deep breath. Sometimes it's 3 minutes. Sometimes it's, I'm going to go veg on the couch and watch Wheel of Fortune and do nothing. Yes, I do that. I love Pat Sajak. So like, but it's something for me. I may not do it all of the time, but I know that I have that to give myself that moment of calm.
Yeah.
Speech over.
Yeah.
Really good. Really good.
And that's awesome. Gina Hoffman wrote in on here just saying like there's so much uncertainty right now, and in that, though, what I love about what you were saying, and is that there's a lot of uncertainty outside. So what can you do inside, right?
Yeah.
You and feeding yourself or recognizing, look, there are seasons when we're just going to survive, and there are seasons in life where we're going to thrive. And recognizing what season you're in is actually one of the most important points to recognize to help you move to that next one or stay in that thriving space. So I love it, Jill, especially too when you're talking about, you talk about how exhausted you were. It's amazing how adaptive our bodies can be and our minds can be to the environments, and you don't even realize it.
Yeah.
Well, I totally agree with that. And I think each and every one of us has to sit back and think about how we're going to handle that inside space, and deal with that and be successful. And it's not just us, right? I mean, how many conversations have we had with other people where they're bummed out, depressed, whatever it might be? I mean, it has been hard on everybody, which is going to bring me into my two things that I wanted to share with people. And I think I found this to be a really good exercise. It made me have to prioritize, actually, because I could have a list of 5 or 6 or 10 things. I'm a big believer, by the way, if you have a list of 10 things, you have none, unless it's a to-do list. And you really have to prioritize, because great ideas are not born from 10 ideas. In a collective group, they can be, but if you got 10 ideas that you think you need to focus on, you've really got none. You got to focus on one, complete the project, see where it goes, and move forward. But here's where I landed on this. And I landed on the topic of mental wealth. And I say this because I'm working with the CEO right now in a consulting format about building brand and trying to help him get his message out in a way that separates him from others within his space. And I don't want to share all the secrets of that, but to me, that's one of the things I enjoy the most about working with other people, is seeing them elevate to the next level where their mind hasn't even gone yet. Either they don't have the confidence in it, or they don't have the ideation to come up with ways that they can dive in and make the most of it. And so we actually talked about, which is why I'm glad that Jill came up with today's topic and kind of modified where we were going, because the next 3 months, or 2, sorry, we're into November. The next 2 months are huge, and you could just sit there and do nothing, and you could say the year's done and I give up and I'm going to start over in January and whatnot. I get that. I do get that, and I think we do need to do some of that. So mental wealth to me means self-care. It means taking care of yourself. It means not just investing what money you might have, or protecting or sitting on the money that you've made. Yes, we have to do that, because we don't know, to Jill's point earlier, we don't know what 2021 is going to bring in that format. For the things that the three of us do, we rely on our next client, our next customer, or whatever, your next boss in a way. And if everybody else is in the slowdown and they're not spending money, well, then that definitely affects us. So mental wealth is really big. And what I've had to do with my own kids and a few other people that I know closely is say, hey, guess what? I get it. Like, we are all focused on our side. It's like, Jill, when we're speaking to an audience, I always challenge myself, if I'm writing a speech or a talk or a presentation, that the audience is thinking 3 things. So what? Who cares? What's in it for me? And the most important thing being, what's in it for me? Because at the end of the day, we're all focused on our own issues. And that's why we have to be kind to others. You never know what they're going through. But mental wealth and investment, meaning go do something for yourself. I know this might sound like, you know what? I don't have $100. Okay, find it. One less dinner out and one more massage that you could get to put your body back in the form that puts you in a relaxed, calm state. Jill talked about that app. It's a terrific app, by the way. You have to do that. So to me, if we're going to have a successful 2021, end 2020 by taking care of yourself. Now, for some, that might mean going shopping. It might mean going to the outlet mall. Just put a governor on yourself, okay? Give yourself a budget. And don't go overboard to where 2021 becomes a stressful thing if the economy doesn't do whatever. But invest in yourself, take care of yourself, go for a walk, do whatever. I think that's super important. The other one that I want to focus on is the bottom one here, and that's about connection. Okay, I feel like a lot of times in sales or companies and people that I talk to, they are so focused. We all are. I mean, we did it earlier, right? I said, hey, here's what Mike, Jill, and Kraig can do. This is what we're going to provide for you. It's going to be an exhilarating experience for your team and all that. And we sell us and we sell our thoughts and our ideas, but we need to connect with people. In other words, and we've talked about this on this program, each week I try to call a couple of people, and I usually do it toward the end of the week, and it's people I haven't connected with in a while. It might be a past customer. They might have said, hey, we were going to do something this year, but everything has been pushed back. I'm like, that's okay. That's all right. I just wanted to check in, see how your business was going, how your people are doing. Hey, what about John that I met, when I was out there doing my workshop? How's he doing? Or whatever it might be. Quite frankly, me writing my book and the testimonials and talking to some of the companies to get their approval to put things in there has focused me on, hey, do you remember our day together? What was that experience like? How's Jane doing? How is, Christy doing? And I remember the names, and it's brought me back into the real importance of what we do, which is connecting with people, not selling the product. So I think you can do a great service to yourself for the next couple of months, selling yourself as a compassionate, caring, concerned person for others and their business, personal and, private, and not focus on jamming your scope of work and here's what I offer into their face to try to draw money out of their pocket. I think that's a really important thing to think about. And I wanted everybody to kind of think about those things, taking care of yourself and taking care of others. Anybody want to add anything to that?
Oh, I mean, I love, thanks, Mike. I love that thought. I think if we all came at our everyday from a place of service, I find so much merit in that. And, in a lot of ways, I feel like it's almost an obligation, given the environment of our country right now. I think, really connecting with people and seeing people and coming at it from a place of connection is so important. Not just because of COVID, but just as human beings. I just think Oprah Winfrey said one time that at the end of the day, what people really want is to know they matter. And I've never forgotten that. I don't remember a lot of quotes. My brain doesn't work that way. But that was one that hit me in the heart, because it's that's it. Kids just want to know they matter. Your older parent wants to know they still matter. Your neighbor wants to know that they're seen and that they matter. And I think coming at your everyday and creating a shift where you can do that makes us all better.
Yeah. Mike?
Yeah, no, I absolutely love it. And that's something that Kraig, I subscribe to on a regular basis too, of carving that time out to connect with people.
You do. Yeah.
I think the interesting thought that I had, and actually Rob Pritz, he chimed in on the Facebook stream, and actually it was like, you were in my head, Rob, for a second, but he said, follow-up is the secret sauce of connecting. And I love that, because it's true. It's not enough just to call. I make a note and say, okay, did we connect, or did I leave a message? And I like to follow up as well, in a week or so. Hey, just checking back in, want to see how you're doing, because I found that when I've done that and I actually do reach that person, I find out that in the time lag between us getting together, like, oh, I'm so glad that you reached back out because I had all these things that stack up on me. Thank you for coming back to see how I'm doing in this check-in. So I agree. I think Rob just nailed it. This following.
Yeah, I got to add something about Rob real quick because I know Rob. Rob was he was actually, this is true. Okay. He was actually one of my first 2 clients on the individual consulting side that I worked with on building a brand, and he did a transformation. Wow. He was actually in the business of, and I met him when I was at Golf Channel. He came up to me with his family in Atlanta at the Atlanta Athletic Club at the PGA Championship. And it might have been another tournament as well. And he said, could we get a picture? And so we took a picture with him and his kids. And this is a long time ago. And he's posted it on his Facebook. And I've never forgotten him. He's never forgotten me. And then we worked together and I helped him. He was in the business of creating like Monday or Friday charity golf events so he could give back to the community. And a lot of that stuff started drying up, with the economy changing in 2009, 2010, et cetera. And so he wanted to get into the real estate business, but he wanted to focus it on like golf communities and he wanted to carve a niche in that regard. And so we built this whole thing out. I don't want to give all the details, but what I will tell you about Rob is this guy's got incredible passion. He made that transformation. He found his niche. He found a way to be what I call the green shoe in his industry and really deliver something. And he posted something the other day that made me laugh. He said, this was yesterday, I think. And I saw it. He said, by the way, if you're one of those people that says no matter who the candidate is that wins, that you're going to hop on an airplane and leave the country, I'm here to sell your house.
Yeah, I saw that. Must have been a real
so good. Oh my God,
that's
so
awesome.
Good. So a little humility, little humor, and I thought that was really a cool thing.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you, Rob, for that. Now, did he come up and would you take a picture, and did he give you the camera to take a picture of his family, or did he want you in it?
I'm actually in it.
Okay.
Yeah, so it completely devalued the photo. I mean, you get like 5 cents for it on eBay, but I probably took one of just his family. That's probably the one they have framed. That probably shows a lot of fun. He's cards. He's a really good guy. So
thanks for playing along, Rob. We appreciate you.
All right. With that, I'm going to share the topic for next time. And I will fully admit to everybody out there, we took last week off. We're all pretty good promoters of trying to let you know when the next episode of Elevating You is going to be. I'm going to hope that it's next Thursday, but sometimes things get in the way. If we do, we'll try to post something out there to let you know. But we do follow up and post these on, LinkedIn, and we post it on Facebook and all these other platforms that we have. But we're going to talk about the money game the next time. And I think a lot of people are nervous about their finances. This is the time of year when you figure out probably whether you're getting a raise, whether you've hit your bonus targets and all that. And a lot of people aren't having bonuses this year. A lot of those have been taken away. 401k matches, have gone by the wayside. To me, it's an opportunity to be gained, not lost, if we think about it in the right mindset. I don't want to give everything away, but we want to talk next time about raising your experiences, not focusing on the paycheck, but about the experiences that will ultimately lead to perhaps bigger paychecks and being more recruitable. And there's a strategy there, and there's a thought process there about what you can do day to day to not put money in the forefront of your mind. So before we go, I'm going to let each of you have a final thought, and then send them off with something really big. Okay, don't go low here. Go big. Go tall, Jill.
Oh boy. Well,
and go.
Yikes. No, well, I loved our discussion today. And I think that, whether you are joining us because you are looking to elevate where you are in your professional career, or you're spending time with us just because you like us and you're just looking to elevate yourself personally for wherever you are in your life, now is the time to really get yourself ready for the new year, whatever that may bring. Remember, you're in control of what you can do. My son will sometimes say to me, well, Mom, like the other kids are allowed to do this. And I'll look at him and say, I can't control what the parents of your friends allow them to do. I can just control how I am parenting you and how I handle those things. So keep that in mind. Control what you can. Think of things positively. Where can you create those moments for yourself so that as we continue into 2021 in this new normal, you're feeling better about where you are.
Yeah, good. Very good. Mike?
So I'm going to take this back to the racing theme. I know, surprise, surprise.
Shocking.
All right. What? Where's he going? So there's a known thing in racing that the car goes where the driver's eyes focus. And I really would hope that after today's conversation, we think about what we're focusing on. Where are our eyes set? And that's going to really determine where we are going in our lives. So the first thing is fix your focus on where you want to be. The other is think about your fuel, right? Even if it's during a pit stop for self-care, your family, whatever it is, you've got to fuel up. So be mindful of the things that you're fueling yourself with. Think about the podcasts you could be listening to, the videos, the books, the things that are going to fuel you on the inside for your mind, as much as how you're nurturing your body as well, because you need the balance of both. So I would just encourage you, again, fix your focus and choose your fuel wisely.
Good segue, because my final thought is going to be actually a guest that I want to bring on this show. We haven't done that in a while. He was a guest on my podcast. I think it will help everybody if I can get him to do it. His name's Kraig Burkhalter. He is known as, quote unquote, the LinkedIn guy.
Yeah. Right.
I've gotten more feedback from that podcast. Podcast, by the way, Tracks to Success. And he shared so much. I mean, obviously, we talked about his story, and that's what my podcast is really about, is somebody's career path. But man, he was good. And I think it can really help people to get a mindset about where they go. Now, having said that, I do want to throw something out there for you reality TV buffs, because I'm not ashamed to say, and he made fun of me on the podcast. My guest this week is Chris Harrison on Tracks to Success. He is the host of The Bachelorette, The Bachelor, Bachelor in Paradise, all that. And I got him while he was taping the next series of The Bachelor. All right, The Bachelorette's going on right now. And by the way, this episode, I think it's tonight, chaos ensues. I mean, absolute mayhem ensues.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, there you go. As he would say, it's the most dramatic episode yet. Okay. So anyway, check it out. I think you'll really enjoy it. And, he shares a lot about his journey and how he was on Sabrina the Teenage Witch once upon a time, and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. But now he's on this other show that's made him a millionaire. And it was a lot of fun. So with that, I want everybody to just take a deep breath today, have some fun. I hope you've enjoyed today. I know that for me personally, I'm going to put this one down as one of my favorites. Honestly, this has been one of my favorites. And it's not just because of Mike's LED lighting. It's for many other reasons as well. But that is the topic the next time. The money game, raising your experience versus raising your paycheck. The series is called Elevating You, Reaching Your Peak. Kraig, Mike, Jill, to both of you, thanks for a great time. We'll post this up on other platforms, and I look forward to talking to you guys next week.
And we want to thank everybody for jumping on the Facebook stream. You all have been awesome. So many comments and questions and interactions. So thank you. Let's keep it up. Cheers, everyone.
Absolutely.
Have a great week, everyone.
Have a great one. Take good care.